90 Wagon Master here. So about a week, 10 days ago, I did a video on this communications power WM 1000 watt meter, and I was kind of complaining about the internal battery, and I was originally thinking of doing a little 7809 regulator circuit or something like that. So when you hook 12 volts up to here, it would just power the meter. I've abandoned that idea because I think what CPI was going for is, yeah, you had to make an effort to hook up 12 volts for lights, but they wanted to make it so you could run this thing, you know, off grid, right? So you could just grab it off the shelf and just hook it up and wouldn't have to have an extra power supply or tie into your power supply. So I think I'm going to stick with that idea, but I really didn't like the idea of the battery being inside because you got to take the thing apart all the time. And so I'm thinking, you know, before I put it back up on the shelf or sell it or do whatever the heck I'm going to do with this thing, I want to address a couple issues. So let's get started. I wanted to look for some sort of a enclosure for a 9-volt battery. And I want to tag this onto the back of the meter. But I do not want to drill any holes or make this permanent. So I opted to go with this little puppy. I'll leave a link to this down below. You can check these out. This may or may not be for you. However, for me, I bought a packet of 2 of them because I have another project that it requires a 9-volt battery. And I thought, well, I'll use this little one here because it has an on-off switch. So anyway, we're not going to use that for this one. I'm just going to pin this as on most of the time, I think. And I'm going to mount that to the rear of the meter. So we won't have any battery leakage going on inside the meter, and it'll be just so much easier to maintain a nice battery in there. All right, second thing was the little rubber feeties that go on there. These were old school. They did not have any sort of insert in there, and these things are hard as a rock. So a couple clicks on Dr. Evil's website, aka Amazon, I came up with these little rubber feeties with the steel inserts. And I think that'll last another lifetime for sure. However, there's a slight size difference, yes. So we'll see how this goes. I may have to shave a hair off of it. I don't know how that's going to look. But these are a nice soft rubber, so I wouldn't have a problem with setting these on a really minty radio or anything, you know, this thing on a mint radio or worrying about anything going on. And honestly, I think it would stick to a lot of surfaces, so I'll leave a link to these down below. And I think I got them in a package of 10, I believe. And I think this was relatively inexpensive, about $8, $9. So, all right, we're going to start working on the WM 1000. Okay, so let's see. I'm just going to button this up and do a final heat shrink. I've done positive and negative individually, but I'm just going to put an outer layer along there. So originally the OEM in battery clip installation, which was one of these. And that's funny because actually you can still buy almost this exact same clip on Amazon. But yeah, I mean, dude, the thickness of that screw head is what stops the battery or hinders it clamping in tightly. So maybe you could rivet it in there, but still, that's just kind of hokey. So I'm going to save this stuff. I'll put it in a bag, throw it in a drawer or something, just in case somebody ever wants to revive that. That's why I didn't drill an extra hole. But yeah, that's how they did it from the factory. All right, we'll finish up this installation. You may be wondering how I'm going to attach this. I'm not going to silicone it or use any kind of an adhesive as far as that goes. I'm not going to drill into this piece. I want to leave it all stock. So what I'm going to use is just a piece of double stick. And we'll just see how that goes. Because, you know, this may fall into the hands of a CPI collector, and I just don't want it damaged or to look like it's been modified. Okay, so there's the installed battery, and I do have this little cover that goes over the top of it, like this. It just kind of slides on. Can I do that with one hand? Let's see. Come on now. There we go. Okay. So, you know, other than this wire coming out of there, it wasn't really that big of a deal. I mean, I think it looks okay. This is non-polarized just because it powers a light bulb. So I'm not going to, you know, I might put a clear marking on there, a positive and negative, just not to confuse somebody. And maybe somebody wouldn't, you know, that's not really familiar with this kind of stuff would wonder like, hey, which is positive and negative? But anyway, so all this is OEM. I think that looks okay. Let's test it. And yeah, I'm too lazy to get my heat gun out, so I used a lighter for the heat shrink. Bummer. All right, let's see what we got. There we go. So now it's all self-contained once again. And no fear of this possibly happening again and getting into the board and really making a mess. Man, I just had 4 new, well, I have oh my gosh, a metal detector, and it's an ATK Pro, and it is powered with 4 double A's, and I left those locked up in there for about 2 years, and I pulled it out, and I had a gooey mess. So now I'm paranoid of leaky batteries. It's double stuck on there. I took some 90 grain alcohol, sprayed on there, and cleaned off the rear panels, so she's on there pretty good now. All right, on to the feet. Then we'll be finished with this project. Okay, so I knew this was going to happen. What we have here is we have a situation. These are the old feet. This is the new one. This is how it's going to fit. Not really digging that. So this was the smallest size that I could find at the time on Amazon, and I knew it was going to be a little big. So I'm like, well, how can I fix that? So I could get out a knife, a blade, and just make a nice cut down there, and I may just do that. Something else too. These holes in here are stripped. You know, look, taking this thing apart all the time to service the battery. So not only are those holes stripped, so I'm going to have to use the new screws that come with it, but there's a little bit of wiggle room in there. So I'm going to see if I can get it to go like that. Yeah. What else could I do? I could put the screws back in and maybe, you know, use some adhesive and put them on like that, because I don't want to drill any holes in here. I want it to be stock, but maybe I'll go with that. You know, I've got some that black, what do you call it? The black RTV. Ladies and gentlemen, submitted for your approval. I shaved one of those down, and I don't know. I think that's kind of a goofy look. It's kind of hard to tell on camera. Then I've got like this look going on right here. Forget this back here. It's just propping up the bottom. Well, actually, let me take it out. Maybe you can see it better. Let's see here. Let's do this. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Yes, I can. All right. Here we go. So we've got this look right here. Or this one right here. I think that look right there, honestly, kind of looks high-end. Kind of makes it look professional. What say you? Okay, so I opted to use some of the adhesive to put this stuff on. I'll have to go through and clean some of this stuff up. This stuff's really super messy, but it's... Wow, this stuff is awesome. It's $3 or $4 a tube at Wally World. I use this on a lot of stuff, and it's pretty nasty stuff. These are not coming off. Now I've got the front ones up here, more to the front, just along that little bend line right there. And I had to do that because I've got screws here and here on this one side to hold the board on, and then the screws for the other side of the board are right here. So what I had to do is I had to bring this foot over, and that's why you see the glue goober here, because I was trying to get it set up like this one, but it's not going to fly. So they had to go inset just a hair. And I don't really think that's going to look bad. So I had to mimic that same pretty much that same distance on both of them, but I think it'll look good. So let's put this up on the shelf and see what it looks like. Okay, well, there it is up on the shelf. I like that look. As a matter of fact, I like them being inset a little more than just on the edge there. So yeah, that's I think that's pretty nice. Very nice. Super nice. Super nice. And it works. Let's do the battery check. Looking good, boys and girls. Alrighty. Please leave questions or comments down below. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you very much.